Okay, good afternoon, Your Excellencies. Here with the present with us, Dr. Alisa Whyte, Dr. Karim Ellis. I want to welcome you all to this important edition of the African Students Leadership Academy. My name is Remy Chukwunyere, Executive Director of the Ugwumba Center for Leadership Development in Africa. I bring you greetings from my boss, His Excellency Ugwumba Uchewosu, the founder and the president of the Ugwumba Center for Leadership Development in Africa. I'm sure he's going to join us, before our speaker takes over from me. So briefly, let me introduce who we have today as our mentor. Like I said earlier, we carefully, selected global leaders from around the world, to do this assignment for us, just like you had Dr. Karim Ellis last week, and you kept asking for more. We have another special guest today. I'm talking about Dr. Alisa Whyte. She's an amazing personality. She's the #1 mindset disruptor in America and a visionary leader, a true pioneer in empowerment whose impacts transcend boundaries. As the founder of Fulfillment Empowerment Network and the global movement Mindset Mastery 360 Degrees, Dr. Alisa has dedicated over a decade to empowering individuals worldwide to transcend limitations and embrace transformative change. Her works have been featured in international news platforms such as Fox, NBC, CBS, ABC, Bloomberg, Entrepreneur Reporter, World Culture Times, American Business Times, Career Advancement Times, etc. As a career and business strategist, her expertise is sought after by leaders, executives, and organizations worldwide. Her powerful insights and strategies have transformed the lives of countless individuals and driven organizations towards excellence. Her mission extends beyond personal empowerment. She is dedicated to inspiring women and young girls to heal, renew their mindsets, and lead fulfilling lives, both personally and professionally. Her humanitarian efforts span across countries like India, Kenya, Nigeria, and Ghana, where she has championed educational initiatives and supported NGOs in their endeavors. Ladies and gentlemen, when you invite Dr. Alisa Whyte to speak, you bring unparalleled expertise and inspiration to your event. Her engaging presence and transformative messages leave audiences empowered, motivated, and equipped with actionable strategies to drive personal and professional growth. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of His Excellency Ugwumba Uchewosu and the board and management of the Ugwumba Leadership Center, I present to you Dr. Alisa Whyte, the #1 mindset disruptor in America, in Nigeria, and in Africa. Thank you and welcome to the Academy, Doctor. Thank you so much. Over to you now.
Hello and good morning from Arizona. Good afternoon, Nigeria. And Remy has officially said, and I agree with him, my second home. And all the other youths and individuals from around the globe, whether you're watching us live on our YouTube channel or you are here in the room with us live. Listen, I do have a PowerPoint, but before we get into that, I want you to get ready for us to have a conversation. I am taking off my speaking hat. I'm taking off a lot of different hats, CEO hats, and all the wonderful things that Remy shared with you about me. And I am coming in as a facilitator and a teacher. So if you are here and you're ready to have a great conversation and interaction on the subject matter of emotional intelligence, I want you, wherever you're watching this, if you're here with us, to drop in the chat, I am ready. Let me see the room. I'm able to read the screen right now because I'm not in share screen. Type, I am ready. Because listen, I am your sister, I am your friend, and I just get to facilitate a brilliant conversation right here at the African Student Leadership Academy. Listen, one of the things we believe firmly, both here in the US and at Ugwumba Leadership Center, is that the youth is the future. And we also believe that Africa is the leader of the future. And because of that, we've got both. We've got Africa, we've got youth, and we've got leadership, and we're here to get ourselves assembled for even more empowered leadership. I am seeing it everywhere. Yes, Dr. Kareem is in the house. Yes, Dr. Kareem, I'm seeing Reddit is saying she's extremely ready. And then I'm seeing, yes, I get you, Gift. I see you. I see you, Kokolo. I see you, Usafo. And if I'm saying names wrong, I'm doing my best, but I want to say names. Peter, that was an easy one, says he's ready. Yusuf says he's ready. Come on, let's see it. Light it up. There's quite a few of us here, and the room is filling up. I am ready. And what are you ready for? Now that you said you're ready, I want you to put in the chat what it is that you are ready for. What are you ready for this morning, this afternoon in Nigeria? What are you ready for? Let's see it. Ishmael is still saying he's ready. Ali says he's ready. What are we ready to get knowledge? I love it. What else are you expecting? We're talking emotional intelligence and leadership. I'm ready to be empowered, says Isufu. Grace says, I'm ready to draw wisdom from your worth of knowledge. I will do my best because we're taking a team effort. Ready to learn. Let's go. I'm ready for positive transformation. Let's get it. Ready for growth and breakthrough success. Dr. Kareem, we know you're here. You're going to add some gems too. Ready to improve, says Fatima. Ifoma says, ready to gain knowledge and information. I'm ready to be inspired today. Yes, expectation is half the distance. I am ready to improve my knowledge. Let me tell you guys, as a mindset disruptor, it always begins with a thought. So as you type what you're ready for, you're setting a prefaces for what you're going to receive, because you can't go somewhere if you don't have a plan and you don't know where you're going. Ready to get leadership skills, says Agabom. Peter says, I'm ready to increase my knowledge. Okay. Come on. If you're watching on YouTube, you should be typing too. We'll catch those later. I'll be back on the YouTube channel when we're done to comment with you. Ready for personal growth and development. So we see we came with high expectations. If you haven't had a chance, you can keep typing. I'm going to go ahead and open up the share screen for us. What are we talking about? We're talking about unlocking leadership potential to empower emotional intelligence for our African youth. And so I want you all to know that I have not ever shared or spoke on this specific area and in this format on emotional intelligence before. And this is specifically for the African Student Leadership Academy. Okay. So it is brand spanking new from Dr. Whyte. I really thought about it because emotional intelligence is such a wide topic and we can go really, really deep. So I wanted to make sure that we brought it to somewhere where we can walk away with something really, truly beneficial. Okay. And Gomes says, I am fully ready to get some life-changing points. Let's do it. Ready for personal growth and development. Awesome. So we're all pumped and charged here this morning. So we're talking leadership potential. We got all those who think they're leaders, put leader in the chat. If you are a leader, put leader in the chat, because I want to make sure I'm talking to the right people today. And we're at the African Leadership Academy, so we should have everyone as a leader. And so we're talking about a very important piece, guys, that people in some of the largest corporations and around the world forget that it is important. They don't even know, because how can you know? How can you practice something you don't know? And so if you've heard about, I see Aman says he's a leader from Ethiopia. Awesome. I am going to ask us really quick to unmute. I would just want three individuals. And And I'm going to choose some names that are on the screen that are ready. If you're not able to come through clearly, you can just put pass in the chat. But I want someone to tell me what they think emotional intelligence is. What emotional intelligence? So I'm going to pick on Simon. Simon, I'm looking at your name from South Sudan. Can you tell us what emotional intelligence, what do you think it is? Simon, can you unmute yourself? There you go.
All right, Ma. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening to you. What do you think emotional intelligence is?
All right. What I think about emotional intelligence is someone's ability to use let me say his no okay, what I mean is that it's someone's ability to use his mind, okay, without to be able to let me say do certain things or to accomplish certain things without being sentimental.
Interesting. Thank you for sharing that. We're taking notes. And let's ask Julian. Julian is a leader. Julian, tell us where you're from and what do you think emotional intelligence is? And then we'll have one more.
So, good afternoon.
Hello, Julian. Where are you from?
I'm from Congo.
Congo. Welcome. So, what is emotional intelligence, Julian? Did we lose him? Did we lose him, Remy? I think we lost him.
Oh, sorry about that. Julian, please. Okay, continue, man.
All right. So let's try. Well, I'm gonna pick on Malik. Malik. All right. Let's give him a couple seconds. How about Nene? She's always ready to go. Nene?
Okay, so emotional intelligence means the awareness of recognizing one's ability, understanding.
Go ahead, Nene. We lost you. Okay, I think we lost her. So if you have your term, just give me a couple words in the chat and we will consider that emotional intelligence. All right. So let's talk about what the definition is we're going to be working with today. Thank you so much, Nene. Remy, are you there?
Oh yes. Go ahead, man.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm still connected because I wasn't sure it got so quiet.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry, go ahead.
She had a good all these definitions are very close. But let's just see what we're going to be talking about today. So we're going to be talking about understanding emotional intelligence, the importance of emotional intelligence for young leaders like yourself. We're also going to be talking about what the right mindset is for emotional intelligence and how do we develop daily habits to keep growing our emotional intelligence. We'll have a little bit of an interaction again on practicing and identifying emotional intelligent leaders. And then we'll go through some real life examples and we'll have our Q&A. So What is emotional intelligence when we talk about it today, and what I want you to bear in mind? I see Aman is in the chat. Thank you guys for lighting it up. We're going to define emotional intelligence as awareness of our emotions, effective communication, and emotional regulation, which is quite a large term. So let's see that again. It's emotional intelligence will be encompassing in our definition today, because we're making things very simple and comprehensive so we can walk away with the best grasp of it. We're going to look at it being a space where we develop awareness of our emotions, and that's how we feel. And then effective communication, the way in which we communicate those feelings, and then keeping those emotions in a place of healthy regulation. If you're getting that and that makes sense to you, put a yes in the chat. Very simply. This is how I know that we're still here. Thank you, Dr. Kareem, because it is super quiet.
Doc, are you there? Excellency, are you there? Excellency, are you there? Okay, I think she has.
I think we may have lost her. Let me see if I can reach out to her.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Let me see. Okay. So while we wait for her to join, please, you can quickly drop.
She had a disconnection. She's logging back on now.
All right. Thank you, Doc.
Can you reach her?
You are here. Sorry, yeah, I'm calling her now.
Yes, I got a hold of her. She's actually getting back on now. She said the signal dropped on her end.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay, so meanwhile, let me read out some of the comments from Ifoma Izioku. We have emotional intelligence is an ability to manage your emotions and also be able to understand other people's emotions. That's fantastic. Okay, for Jennifer said, oh, Jennifer, National Coordinator. Jennifer, we welcome you, Madam Coordinator. Basically, emotional intelligence is using your emotions smartly. Wonderful. Okay, for Onachukwu Mesoma, she said emotional intelligence could be said to mean the ability of one to know or be able to control his or her outcomes or actions by being in control of one's emotions and using that for the benefit of your life and those around you. Fantastic. Okay. Okay. I think Julian said emotional intelligence is the ability to understand and manage. Sorry. Okay. Oh, so many of them here. All right. Okay, sorry about that. We have so many of them here coming in. Okay. Okay, the ability to understand your emotions and influence the emotions of others. That's from Dr. Amal Jamal. Then from, okay, Jennifer Torre, I said that before, your ability to understand, manage your emotions. Okay. For favor me, I could say emotional intelligence is knowing how and when to use your emotions. For Janet Udor, emotional intelligence means the ability to control your reaction to situations around you. I think that's fantastic. 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 Okay. Uh-huh. Okay, for Bele Mariel, emotional intelligence is simply the knowledge of one's emotions and reactions given towards such emotions. Okay, okay. Um, Dr. Karim, please can you try once more to reach her? I hope it's not a serious matter.
Yeah, she just popped on a second ago, and I saw her face pop up a second ago, and it popped her back off again. So I'm reaching out to her now.
Oh, okay, okay, good, good. Sorry about that. Okay, thank you so much. Fantastic. So this is an amazing session. So please, everybody should remain calm and wait as our speaker returns to the platform.
Before our speaker comes in,
Okay. Yes,
Fred,
yes, thank you.
yes, let me also let's interact before the speaker comes in.
Okay.
Like topic which is emotional intelligence. Most of the time, most of us in one way or the other cannot control our emotion. Normally here in Africa, we say somebody can't control his or her emotion. And for having that emotional intelligence means that either you can manage your emotion either positively or negatively. But most of the time, people cannot manage that. But most people negatively. Sometimes you have a friend and you are angry with your friend, or something happens, and the ability for you to be calm and allow the thing to go is a problem. Some people can come up with their outbursts and start shouting, even in a public. And sometimes some of these things happen in the public where maybe you are discussing with your friend and somebody might mistakenly kick your leg while passing, and not like intentionally, but for you to manage that, you either look at the person and the person did not say sorry, so you want to come up with, why did you match me? Why can't you see? That's another. You cannot manage your emotion at that particular point in time because you are angry. You are quick to anger. But if you can manage emotion, it's a simple, oh, sorry, you just kicked my leg. And then the person will say, oh, I didn't know, I'm sorry. But some people can, you kicked my leg, you didn't even say sorry. Who are you? So those are the kinds we look at when you talk about emotional intelligence. And is often among young people, especially those who want to be noticed. It can come also in a positive way. You just pretend as if nothing happened, and people will be looking at you. Such kind of a thing was done to you, and you kept quiet. Even friends sometimes can say, how can you keep quiet? How can you? Why can't you go? You somebody. If it is me, I will not allow that to happen. That is another negative way of emotional by your friends trying to make you go the wrong way. So let's be thinking about this before our guest speaker comes in. So, are you, as somebody that is in this platform, how have you been able to manage your emotion, whether negatively or positively? You that is in this platform with us. So let's know and then decide what we're going to ask Her Excellency Alisa Whyte on how to manage our emotions and how to conquer some of the negative aspect of our emotion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. Thank you so much for bringing this up. I think Mary says she wants to speak. Mary, come up now and speak, please. Hello, Mary. It's your turn to speak. Okay. Before she comes, let me just add to what my boss, His Excellency, has said. The truth is that research has shown that young people with high emotional intelligence, otherwise known as emotional quotient, they are more successful, than those who have high IQ. Scoring A's in class and coming out with first class, does not guarantee success in life. I'm sure Dr. Karim will have something to say there. These days it's been discovered that those who have high emotional quotient, they are more successful in life, and that's why you see A students working for C students. I'm sure this rings a bell. You see those who graduated with first class, they come back to work in companies owned by those who were just average in school. Dr. Karim, you're laughing. So let me invite you to say something about that.
Bigot is a very good example.
Oh, fantastic. Good. Dr. Karim.
Yeah, Dr. Alisa Whyte, she's logging back in now. She has some technical problems with her computer, so she's logging back in now. But the reason why I love this topic she's talking about, because I think it's a very, very underrated topic. I know last week I talked about your gifts and your talents and using those to be super successful. But one of my firm beliefs is I think the success is just like making a cake, just like making a cake. And you understand that whenever you bake a cake, it's not just one ingredient that makes that cake. There's a multitude of ingredients to make a cake, right? So you got eggs, you got flour, you've got sugar, you've got frosting, you got all these different ingredients. And the problem is, if you make a cake, but you leave out one of those ingredients, it may look like a cake. It may even smell like a cake, but chances are it will not taste like a cake. And so one of the things I think that if I was going to bake a success recipe, I think that emotional intelligence has to be in it. So we talk about emotional intelligence, we're talking about emotional perception. And I don't want to step on the toes of some of the content that I know Dr. Whyte is going to talk about, but I'll kind of dance on it a little bit. So emotional perception, that revolves around your ability to understand nonverbal signals like body language and facial expressions to read somebody, right? Emotional intelligence is the ability to reason using your emotions. Your emotions help promote your thinking skills and your cognitive activity. Emotional ability is also the ability to understand other people's emotions, because a lot of times we're emotional creatures. Even when it comes to the buying decision, if you study and understand marketing, whenever they're marketing a product, they don't market products to common sense. They market it to your emotions, because most of us are emotional driven creatures. We make a lot of our buying decisions based on emotion. So to be successful in this day and age, one of the things you have to do is you have to understand emotional intelligence from the depth perception portion of yourself, but from the interaction and engagement of other people. So I think that some of the most successful leaders in the world, part of that success is because they possess a high emotional intelligence, but they know how to manage and read other people's emotions as well. As a speaker, one of the things I have to do is be able to read the emotional energy in the crowd and the audience, so I know whether or not they understand what I'm talking about. Do I need to slow it down a little bit? Do I need to go a little bit deeper with it? So I think that it's a very, very underrated skill, but I think it's also a skill that can highly develop your access to success in a multitude of different arenas.
Very good. Fantastic. Thank you for that intervention.
Yes.
I'm sure, is she in the house now, Dr.
She just got off the phone with me and she's coming back online now. So we should be seeing her pop up here any second.
Okay. So, Father Mary, you still want to speak? Who else wants to speak, please? You can come up and do that now.
Or even if they have a question, they can ask the question if they have a question right now while we're waiting for her to get on here.
Okay, good. I think that's good. So if you have any questions, Dr. Karim is here to handle and take care of your questions. Please put them up immediately. Or if you want to speak and ask, also unmute yourself and ask, please.
Good evening, everyone.
Okay. Oh, Darlington, you're here. Good, good.
Regarding I want to trade back to leadership. Regards leadership, what are the characteristics of emotional intelligence in leadership?
Okay. So the question he asked, or what are some of the characteristics of emotional intelligence in leadership? What I love about the idea of leadership is, number one, I think that everybody has the potential to be a leader. Okay. The one what I call Maxwellism, right? By John Maxwell, who's one of the world's greatest authoritarian figures on the concept of leadership. He's put out over 70 books just on the topic of leadership alone. He says leadership is influence. Okay. What I add to that is I say leadership is influence, influence is opportunity. So one of the things about being a leader is I understand that I have influence over those around me on an everyday basis, not just inside the workplace, but outside the workplace. For some of you that may not be employed right now, for some of you that may still be in school, you still have influence on some of the folks around you on an everyday basis, whether it's on social media, whether it's through different activities you belong to. So I always want to be mindful that as a leader, I carry that spirit of influence, meaning as I move, as I walk, as I talk, as I display my actions across the world, it will cause people around me to shift into different positions, thoughts, and mindset. The beautiful thing about influence is influence over time creates opportunity, not only for myself, but opportunity for those that are under the jurisdiction of my leadership. So as a leader, the reason why emotional intelligence is so important, there are many people out there that don't know how to articulate their words and their feelings. I'll say that again. There are many people out there who do not know how to articulate words and don't know how to articulate feelings. So if I understand emotional intelligence, I can have a conversation with you and I can read you based on just your body language on whether or not you're understanding, whether or not you're getting upset. If your arms are folded, are you in a defensive mindset? So emotional intelligence allows me to read you as an individual to understand, should I shift the position in my communication or my leadership style with you? Right now, there are 7 different forms of leadership styles, and not everybody will reciprocate the same type of leadership style. So if I'm a good leader, I understand those 7 different styles, and based on who I'm dealing with, based on me reading the emotional intelligence of the persons I'm dealing with or parties I'm dealing with, I may want to shift that type of leadership style so it's easier to get things across to the persons or parties I'm dealing with. So that's one of the main reasons for understanding emotional intelligence. And I think I see her popping back up right now. So does that answer the question, Darlington?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. But before High Excellency takes over, please, Billy Kisugaruba, please, can you come on and ask your question?
Sure.
Okay, thank you very much. It's evening here, so good evening. Like over the years, I've been trying to implement emotional intelligence in everything I do. I read the book Emotional Intelligence by Daniel Goleman, but there's still an aspect in, and that is how to manage people, especially workers, how to manage workers without them taking me for like boss, like them, how to manage situations, because if I'm able to like empathize with them or understand their circumstances, more often than not, they're not able to. So how do I like enforce my opinion? I don't want to say opinion, but what I want without being too harsh. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. So the thing that I think most of us forget to understand on an everyday basis is that everybody around us deals with a WIFM. And I'm not sure if you know what WIFM stands for. It's WIIFM. WIIFM. And that stands for what's in it for me. Everybody that's here today, you're here based on a WIFM. There are a million other things you could be doing with your time, but you're here for a reason because of your WIFM. What's in it for me? So as a leader, one of the things I want to understand from a negotiation standpoint is, what does the other party want? whether it's in the workplace or outside the workplace. And when I create a structure, or I create communication, or I create a list of demands of what I need them to do, how do I anchor what they want, what's there with them, in with what I want? That's the art of effective communication and the art of negotiation. Most of us don't negotiate with the with them in mind. Most of us have what I call the tyrant mindset, which is it's my way or the highway. And you will get workers to perform, but you will rarely get the best value out of them if you are performing under that type of stress and duress. So one of the things I always say is figure out what's in it for me, meaning from the other party. What are the things they actually want? And is there a way I can anchor what they want into what I want? And then we have that happy medium. But that's also boiled down to emotional intelligence. I got to know what makes them happy. I got to know what it is they want. And then I'm firm on those boundary lines. Does that help?
Yes, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Okay.
Dr. Whyte is back in the building, so I'm going to step back off.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Karim, for filling the gap.
Thank you, sir.
Sorry, we have Her Excellency Dr. Alisa Whyte back in the room. So over to you, Your Excellency. I hope she's still there.
She's still coming online. She's here. She asked me to take one more question. They buy her just a little bit more time.
Okay, very good. So please, if you have any more questions, can you bring them up now? Questions, please, while we wait for our mentor to come back. Oh, what are you guys waiting for? Father Mary, you wanted to ask a question before. Mary, please come up with your question. Mary, are you there?
And I noticed in the chat, someone in the chat said managing people can be tough. That is absolutely correct. Managing people can be tough. If you take on a leadership role, understand the problem with leadership is not everybody's going to like you. I want to be clear about this, because a lot of times we try to lead from the aspect of getting everybody to like us. Not everybody's going to like you. So to be a leader, you do have to have a tough skin. You have to have a tough skin. Darlington, you got a question for me?
No, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh no, what type of technical issues is she having?
Yeah.
We've lost her again.
We got a question in the chat over here. Pan-Africanist says, I have a question.
Hello.
So you have what? Doc, what do you say? Okay. Go ahead. Your question. What's the name? Is it Hussein? Please go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, sir. So good evening, everybody. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I have a question. So I have some of my friends and my peers that I interact most often, and sometimes when it comes to like decision making, I'm somebody that's very vocal. I like making my stance, my opinions, and my views about things very obvious and clear to everybody. So some of them now do complain at times that I like imposing. I'm very authoritative. I like imposing my opinion and views on people. So due to the trainings and the books and all the lectures that I've attended on emotional intelligence, I have decided to kind of backtrack and reduce and keep my thoughts and my opinions to myself. But along the line, I've decided that that's no me. I'm just displeasing myself to please others. I think I discovered that the line that I have decided to take kind of like is not pleasing me. It's not something. It's not me entirely. It's not me. I'm just trying to copy some other person that is not me. So I found out that I'm not actually happy to about myself with what I have been concerning that particular thing. So my question now is, do I go back to my old self, or do I just continue being considerate and just allowing everybody? Because once I kind of make my stance known to people, it will look like I'm kind of being I'm imposing my view on people, being authoritative or things like that. So I want to know now, is it actually emotional intelligence for me to actually backtrack and hold my views on myself? Or is it actually something that is bad because I'm not being myself, I'm not being real, I'm just kind of trying to please others at my own detriment?
Okay. So is your question, should you be opinionated, or are you worried about not being yourself?
That's it, sir. I'm worried about not being myself and trying to be emotionally intelligent and being considerate of others.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that. I think we got Dr. Whyte here, so I'll answer this last question real quick. So here's the thing. The problem with life is you will not get out of life alive with everybody liking you. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion, right? We have a million opinions a day. The problem is your delivery style of your opinion. In other words, if your opinion is just like this pill bottle may make whatever's inside this pill bottle may make me better, but it probably tastes nasty if I just pop it open and take it to the head by itself. So can I actually take this pill with something that tastes good so it goes down a whole lot easier? That's the question. I don't want you to change who you are. Who you are is what makes you uniquely you, right? I believe in what I call the fingerprint mindset, which means that there is no one on the planet that have fingerprints exactly like me. When God created me, he designed me to be specifically me. My opinions are formulated based on me. However, I have full decision-making power over how I deliver my opinion where I don't make everybody angry, upset. So I will work on the delivery style of your opinion. Some of the greatest world changers on this planet had opinions that didn't resonate with half of the planet. There were people who was called crazy, and those crazy folks changed the world by their ideas and their concepts. So it's nothing wrong with your opinion, but you may want to change how you deliver your opinion so it's not as offensive to people around you who may not agree with your opinion. It's the delivery.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Doc, for that suggestion. Okay, Dr. Alisa, I'm sure you're back.
Yeah. And I thank you. This is the glorious things of having wonderful teammates like Remy and Dr. Kareem. I would not have made it this morning because I'm definitely not a Jitsi person, and I couldn't solve the technical difficulty. It wouldn't let me speak, be on camera, and share a PowerPoint. But we swapped out devices, and I'm pretty sure you all can hear me. So we're going to take off. But what we're going to do is, while we have this PowerPoint up, because once I start clicking, moving, I don't know what's happening. I guess there's something I need on my system to carry this program properly. So I'm going to be off screen and on screen. And Dr. Kareem is going to be helping me with your questions at the end. I'll come off without the PowerPoint, but I want you to get the content. I promise I will still take my time and do it for you, okay? So we said that emotional intelligence in this context, because here's the thing, and I love the questions I was able to hear from speaking with Dr. Kareem. I love the questions. I love your thinking. But what we want to do today is truly simplify the essence of what emotional intelligence is, because a lot of times we get so caught up and hung up on terms and fancy words and meanings. But we want to get to a place in this presentation where we're actually putting it into practice, right? So we said that emotional intelligence is awareness of emotions, which is how do I feel about something, someone, a situation. Effective communication, how do I communicate those feelings so that it matters? Because feelings, and we'll talk a little bit back about where feelings come from, and then how do we regulate those to properly lead, okay? So when we talk about how we feel, where does feelings truly come from, right? Well, you guys know I'm going to say it. Feelings comes from our thoughts. It comes from our thoughts, which comes from our experiences, whether it's historical or something we're experiencing in the moment or something we're even anticipating in the future. So the main point is feelings, we all have them. Dr. Kareem mentioned just a little bit before that we all are emotional beings. We are. And when we say emotional beings, we're not talking about being sad or happy. It's just that we have feelings. We're not going to escape that. So I want you to keep in mind that emotional intelligence, which we are going to call EI, involves being aware of your own emotions, managing them effectively, and communicating them efficiently. And it plays a significant role in forming better relationships. Why do we need them? Why do we have to have EI? What is the importance of it? It's to improve mental and physical health, have stronger relationships, and in this case, greater career success as a leader. And it doesn't matter what age you are, right? So emotional intelligence and leadership is an important, as Dr. Kareem said, if you're putting a cake together, you're going to have important ingredients. And a lot of leaders fail because they are not emotionally intelligent, meaning they're not aware of their own emotions and being sensitive and understanding other people's emotion and bridging the gap with communication effectively, right? So we want to look at EI as a foundation for effective leadership. And we want to bring optimism in that feeling. The feeling we want to have as leaders is to have optimism and manage our own stress effectively. Because I always say that leadership has leader in it, which is a person, one person in a ship with others guiding and steering and being the captain of that ship. And that's what leadership is. So as a person, we're going to go back and focus in on the leader when we speak about EI, which stands for emotional intelligence. Okay. Now, I have some leaders up here. And we have the great Nelson Mandela from South Africa. And then we also have, we all know her, Oprah Winfrey. And everybody knows Mother Teresa. And everybody knows Barack Obama, who was the former president of the United States of America, right? We know these leaders. When you look at them, do you think that they practice emotional intelligence in their work as leaders? And do you think they practice it in their work, in their lives as an individual? Absolutely. They did. Because research shows that emotional intelligence is not something we are naturally good at, but it is something that we can learn, we can develop. It's teachable, and it also helps to create and foster the most positive relationship. One of the key challenges, though, when it comes to emotional intelligence is the way we think about it. And that is coming back to that space where I talked about emotion. One of the key challenges that people face when I talk about emotional dysregulation, which is a deep scientific word, but it simply means that my emotions are not necessarily, quote unquote, in check. So what happens during the emotional dysregulation? We end up in a fight or flight or a freeze response. And what do I mean by flight or fight or freeze response? We're talking about where we are scared, we can either freeze up, or we feel like we want to run from these emotions. And would you believe that great leaders in many situations are in that fight or flight space where they freeze up and they don't know what to do with it? But because they're a leader, they feel like they have to respond. And I know that there are some questions that came in, and so we'll address them a little bit further. Dr. Kareem and Remy did such an amazing job with it. And then also, they say things that they regret, and they end up damaging relationships and they end up with emotional suffering because now they've lost these relationships. And this happens both in our personal and our professional lives. And this is why sometimes when we talk about work-life balance in the sense of I don't bring my work to my personal life to my professional environment, that is not absolutely true, friends. It's not, because wherever we go, we bring who with ourselves? ourselves. We go wherever we go. So we understand that when we are overwhelmed by emotions, our bodies react in flight or flight and we freeze. And then it can lead to all these sufferings. But emotional intelligent leaders are going to be the bedrock of our society in the personal and the professional space. As we said, it is the foundation for leadership. So let's talk about, and our slide is going, about developing the right mindset for being an emotional intelligent leader. To develop the right mindset, we want to cultivate a growth mindset. A growth mindset. And you're like, what is a growth mindset? Well, the key traits of a growth mindset is one where someone believes that they or anyone has the potential to grow and become something different or better or adapt. So it does include having skills and it does include having talent and abilities, but you know that they can grow and develop. And you don't just think that about yourself, you think that about everyone else. But I want to be keen to say that it is an absolute choice that we choose to grow. And so when we think of that growth mindset, it's allowing the space of asking questions, of verifying, of being intuitive with what am I feeling and thinking right now? And why am I feeling and thinking that? And when I choose to respond a certain way, how would someone feel if I did respond? And that would be that growth mindset that allows you the space, and you're creating the space to ask questions and not just make judgment right away and respond, right? And that we will get into some leadership scenarios that help us with that. So what do we do as a leader? We embrace challenges. This is how we will prevent stress from being ever present and continue it. It's not that we would never feel stress, is that it would not continue to be the thing that we lead from. And then we will create a space for open feedback. And this will help us keep track of our thoughts and our feelings when we create a space for open feedback. And then in this mindset, we create continuous improvement, which will teach us how to manage those emotions effectively. Am I making sense? If you're getting this, put yes, yes in the chat. So these are some key traits: is embracing challenges and keeping that space for open feedback while leaving room for continuous improvement. And now we don't want to go into a whole lot about the growth mindset, but we want to keep in mind that this part of emotional intelligence is having a growth mindset. And that's why I spend so much time teaching and talking about growth mindset for every age, even for preschoolers, right? Because that is, and I see Favor saying yes, that is the bedrock of emotional intelligence, is a growth mindset, is leaving room to continually grow, understand, and inquiring about things, okay? Now, how do we put emotional intelligence in our daily practices? Because here's the thing that is so important. It's not enough that we know that we are to be emotionally intelligent. It's not enough to know that emotional intelligence is important to reduce stress, have effective communication, and build positive relationships with individuals in our personal, professional life. It's all important to us to put it into practice. So to enhance our EI skills, we want to create daily habits and routines. And the first thing is awareness. We want to exercise awareness, like in every situation, which is that stepping back and inquiring about what is happening around us, and journaling. Deep breathing and journaling. And we take deep breathing, we think it's like going into a corner and just sitting there and taking deep breaths. No, it does not have to be that complicated. It's right now where you are, where you're sitting, just sitting there and going. And I have to do that consciously throughout my day. For example, I had to take a lot of deep breaths with all the technical difficulties of getting my system and jitsu working together today. And because I was able to take deep breaths, and if you just tried it right now, and deep breath is not pretending, it's bringing in, holding, and blowing it out through your mouth and your nose at the same time. And that science shows that that puts a reset of you being able to process information with better clarity. Okay. So that deep breath exercise right now, I write a little note on my phone saying, talk about this later. And I would find my great friends like Dr. Kareem and others to have a discussion and ask questions. Well, here's what happened. And here's what I did. What do you think about I do it? That's also developing emotional intelligence. The next thing is active listening. And I promise you, this is where our questions will really slav it out. Active listening is one of the things that so many, and I promise you, with cell phones right in hand and work and busy life, we do not truly practice active listening. Now, if you have someone like me in your life where I talk a lot and I got a lot to say and a lot of opinions, you can't possibly actively listen to me, but you might need to figure out when is the most important time. When I'm actively listening, or when I say actively listening, we're talking about where you actually put away the distractions and you listen to the person. And listen, it's easier to put away your cell phone and your iPad and sit up and look up at someone. But you know what's challenging? Turning off the noise in your brain and the ability to not be thinking about your response while you're listening to someone. Like right now, some of you are listening to me, but you're also thinking about, it's almost dinner time and what am I going to eat? You're not actively listening if you're thinking about something else. Well, thoughts come in and out. The thing is to say, I really want to be present with this individual right now, so I'm going to actively listen. And so actively listening is listening. And when they're saying the words, you're interpreting it. And when you get stuck, you know, when they're done talking, to say, hey, you said the bedrock of leadership is emotional intelligence, but I'm not sure what that means. And so now you're verifying, and that person explains, and you're going back and forth. So again, well, a lot of times we think active listening is what? Put your phone away. Listen to me. Look up at me. Those are the first steps. But a lot of time, active listening is not happening because of what we're doing and thinking in our heads, in our minds. And how do we communicate that we're actively listening? It's definitely putting away those environments. Someone walks into my office and I'm writing something or I'm typing something. I usually stop and I say, how can I help you? And to let them know that I'm present, I'll take the pen and I'll put it down and I'll be like, yes, talk to me. And then I'm like this. And active listening is that when I'm nodding my head, I'm letting them know. Sometimes I'm saying, if I'm on the phone, okay. And I'm letting them know. And I remember someone telling me, can you just let me finish? And I'm like, what did I do? I was just saying, let me finish. You know, I got that. I see that. And I'm like, why does that? But for me, I realized they could not speak or bring out their words properly because I was making those noises, but they couldn't see me. So nodding my head didn't help, but me being quiet for them meant I was actively listening. And I had to stop. Okay. So that is emotional intelligence, is while I have a process of communicating and actively listening, is that I'm able to adapt in a growth mindset to the environment and to the person that I'm communicating with. For example, I'll say this. I remember, with my understanding of emotional intelligence, I worked with a Native American tribe here in the USA for 6 years. And at the beginning of my career, it was quite a challenge because in the Native American tribes, they do not look and make eye contact when you're speaking. As a matter of fact, it was a total disrespect and dishonor to whomever you were speaking to make direct eye contact, which my parents and everyone told me when I was a little girl, Alisa, look at me when I'm speaking to you. And I'm like, what do you mean? So now I've had to practice looking, because if you look away and you look in my culture, it meant disrespect. Anybody see, just put your hand up or put something in the chat to know I'm not alone with this one. And so when I'm speaking to my boss, she's like, you can do that if you want. And I'm like, so I felt disrespected. And I remember knocking on her door. And I said, and she wouldn't mind me saying, I said, Mahela, can I have a moment with you? And she's like, sure, what's going on? Again, not looking at me. And I almost want to say, there you are, you're doing it, you're doing it. And I had to calm myself down because I was very aggravated. It happens every time I'm talking to her, whether it's a long conversation or a short conversation. And she would be like, I said, Mahela, can I ask you for a favor? And she's like, what do you want? She's not looking at me. I said, when I'm speaking to you, is it possible that you can just look at me for at least 2 seconds, please? And she said, I do. I said, yeah, but then you look away and I'm still talking and I feel like you're ignoring me. And I just cut myself short and I never really say what I want to say to you. She said, Alisa, do you know? And she looked up at me. Do you know, in my culture here with the Seminole Tribe of Florida, looking directly in someone's face when they're speaking to you is rude? I said, no. And I had no way of knowing. I'm so sorry. And she's like, yeah, it is. And she said, even though I know that I work with people beyond the Seminole because it's such an engraved habit and a way of living and being. And at this time, she's over 50. I don't know how to look at someone in the face. It's almost like I'm scared to talk to them even. I'm a shy person to begin with. And this is someone who's my supervisor. Now, the question I have for us is, since she was leading a team of mostly non-Seminole tribal members, should she as a leader adapt making eye contact with those who were non-tribal? Or should I, as a follower or a subordinate, in this case, be the person that adapts to her culture? Well, listen, even no matter what your job title is, whether you're in a leadership position or not, you are a leader. And because I am a leader, that's why instead of sitting in my offense, I communicated how I felt, which goes back to emotions, how I feel, and being in observance of it, and communicating effectively, which I did with her. And then to manage my stress, I realized that I am a leader. And so for me, I had to get over my intelligence is. I hope that makes sense. I see a man saying building EI through daily practices, and he's got it down. He's writing the notes for you all. The next thing is expression. How you speak to someone is so important. How you express these feelings and emotions is very important, because I could have said, why don't you look at me when I'm talking to you? Totally different response. Then she'd be like, you're suspended. You're going home you do not talk to me like that, Alisa, right? And yes, because I've been a manager, by the time I had this position, I've been a manager for several years, but it's a golden opportunity to even work and serve with the Seminole Tribe of Florida, okay? So you want to create space and time to always practice emotional regulation. Don't just jump in the ring and start talking to someone about your feelings. That will always lead to a very chaotic situation. Step back and process it. This is why daily you want to spend time connecting with yourself in a space where you're avoiding social distraction. And this is how leaders develop emotional intelligence. All right, so we're going to literally look at some scenarios of emotional intelligent leader or not, right? So here, yes or no? Favor says yes. You are absolutely right, Favor. That is an emotionally intelligent leader. When you are able to listen to your team members, even when you are in charge, you want to create a relationship where you validate people's opinions. And this does not just apply in the work environment where you're specifically leading. Remember, we're saying a leader has certain characteristics that they weren't necessarily born with. They are not necessarily born with it. Some of them you have to develop. So you have to learn how to listen to people's concerns, not just your team, anyone around you. Take their feedback and process it, see what you can learn from. And I always say, throughout the rest, or pass it on to someone else, right? The next scenario is a leader that angrily responds to criticism and dismisses feedback. The total opposite of the first one. No, that is not an emotional intelligent leader. And I'm pretty sure you're starting to see when we talk about emotional intelligence being a major ingredient in the process of being a leader, is that you see chaos when you see the second example, right? You see how I don't have time to talk about that right now. No, that doesn't make any sense at all. I said that we are going to use last year's budget as this year's budget. And it doesn't matter what you say. So you can go out of my office now. Totally different response versus someone who says, Alisa, I'm wondering why you think it's important for us to use the same budget we did last year for this project. And now you listen. Now, as the leader of this organization, who's probably has other executives above me, I know very well that no matter what I say or my team says, we're not going to go with anything else except what they've already laid out, because they have a total different understanding and a holistic view of the scenario and situation than we do. But I will listen to my subordinate and I will say, we value, even though I'm probably not happy with my executive leaders, we value your input and I will definitely take it back for consideration. I will let you know the outcome. And I will literally bring it up to the executive leaders and said, here's a case that Alisa made that made very much sense. I was thinking the same. Is it somewhere for us to consider? And they might say no. And then I come back and I say, it wasn't a go for us, but I think we had a good idea. Let's work with what they have and make the best of it. And that is an emotionally intelligent leader. Now let's see the third leader. A leader takes time to reflect on their emotions before responding to a stressful situation. I feel like they hit the jackpot. Do you see that working? If you see it, put yes in the chat. Because someone who sits back and connect, as I told you, when I felt a certain way about my leader, and I sat back as a leader, even though she's over me, I lead other people. And in my thing, I believe in leading in my everyday life, leading in my romantic relationships, leading in my relationship with the young people I serve. It doesn't matter whether I have the title. A leader supports their team through a challenging project, showing empathy and resilience. And what does that look like? So let's say Karen is suffering to finish and meet the deadline. She usually does anyway. I'm not going to go over and say, Karen, we're giving you this project, but make sure it's not late as usual. Before I even give her a project, once she has suffered on the first project, my task is to say, Karen, can you come into the office? Let's talk for a little. I noticed that you struggled to complete the deadline. And so I wanted to see how I can help you next time, or what happened in general, really, what happened? And listen, she might say, well, I was a bit stressed and I really didn't know where to start. And I didn't have all the information, or Jonathan got the information to me late, or Favor was just keeping me back with his portion to get it in. So I was behind. You listened and said, okay, so how do you think? You see, an emotional intelligent leader does not tell someone how to think. They ask questions, they verify information, and then they respond. And in a collaborative environment, they solve the problems together. Even though sometimes the ideas and the set stuff and principles are there and they don't change, we still create inclusivity in the problem-solving process. Does that make sense to you? Right? So that leader is not just going to be dogmatic. They're going to go over it. They're going to hash it through. And then they're going to create a space to solve the problem and help that person that they're leading to feel supported through the process. And do leaders make errors? Yes, because maybe as a leader, I did not support her. I didn't check in. I didn't make sure that everyone in the team was doing what they were supposed to. So I will even say, you know what, Karen, oh my goodness, I apologize that you didn't get all the information, even though it wasn't me. I apologize that you didn't get all the information you needed. You know, we'll have a meeting and we'll discuss how we can do that better later. But next time you're suffering, please come to me and feel safe to ask me for any support, and also let the team members know what you need and how we can support you better. And we make on that agreement so she understands that she can communicate her frustration and her inability to move forward. All right. So here's the thing. Practical steps to developing a plan is setting specific measurable goals for yourself. And that is, Dr. Kareem gave us last week, it piggybacks off of it, is knowing your purpose. If you don't know what your purpose is, you won't be able to create goals. You're just creating wishes because you don't know when you're going to start and where you're going to start. The other thing is getting resources like books and courses, getting resources that are free online or that are paid. Invest in the process. I heard one of our youth here saying, I actually took a course, I took a class, I bought a book, and I loved hearing that. And then Dr. Kareem said this, that we believe that the greatest shortcut or cheat code in the world is having a great mentor or having mentors that can guide you along the process. Even though I'm in the leadership space, I count on others to help me become a better person and a better leader. And then fourth is have a commitment, that growth mindset, a commitment to continuous development. Continuous growth and development is absolutely important. And now I want you to remember that emotional intelligence is crucial and effective to our leadership process, and developing emotional intelligence early, as young as you can. So if you're here and you're a teenager, you're not too early. If you're here and you have young children, it's not too early to start teaching them how to be emotional intelligence. And it is the foundation for our success in all the areas of our life. And we are able to be more emotional intelligent by developing a growth mindset, which allows us to always leave room to develop our skills, talents, abilities, our character, and our personalities. And then we take that and we put it in our everyday practices. And then we can lead in better relationships and in our career, in the professional space as well. And now, guys, we are going to go into the Q&A section of this. Well, I know we had some Q&A, some great question, but I want to open up the floor for us to ask questions, because emotional intelligence is not a one and done. And there's no presentation that is ever going to truly give you. And I intended today for you to understand what it is, why it's important, and how we are to implement it in our daily practices. So any questions and scenarios or situations that you've gone through that you would like to see how we would have done it better, or how we can exercise that emotional intelligence, I'd love to hear from anyone. The floor is open.
And Dr. Lisa, just so you know, I'll read the chat questions for you also. So
Thank you, Dr. Green.
You got some in the chat as well. I'll read them to you.
Okay, great. You can go with that while we wait.
Okay. So Simon says, how do you approach difficult conversations where emotions might be high, such as delivering bad news or addressing a conflict? And can you also provide examples of how you've used active listening to resolve a misunderstanding? So he wants to know, how do you approach difficult conversations where emotions may be high, temperatures might be hot, addressing bad news or addressing the conflict? And can you give an example of how you use active listening to resolve a misunderstanding?
Thanks for that question, Simon. It's a really great question. And I think we kind of touched on it a little bit. So remember the part where I talked about you having this practice with yourself already, where you process your emotions, sometimes in a quiet space, or you take it to the next step by including someone to give you reflective feedback. So when you have bad news to give to someone, first of all, you have to take the understanding and process that bad news for yourself. And it might not be something that's bad. Let's just say, and I want to take it outside of of the work environment. And I'll give you a scenario, which is kind of little rough, but I remembered when my dad passed. I was in the office. I was a manager at the time for an educational program, and I had my aunt calling my phone, and I don't like to take personal calls too much when I'm in the office. And I saw the third call, and then I stepped away and I answered her, and she's like, "Alisa, your dad died." And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm laughing because that is absolutely no, do not tell anyone bad news like that, because I'm in the office. So what I did, I'm like, I looked at the phone and I'm like, Auntie, don't call me with this nonsense. I knew she wouldn't call me and say that, but mentally, I was not taking it. I couldn't take it. I had booked 2 weeks vacation to go spend time with my dad in a few months for Christmas. Wasn't doing it. I literally hung up the phone on her. And then I called her back. I said, what happened? What happened? There's no way. He can't be dead. He was fine. He's not sick. What's going on? And she said, well, he was in the garden and he fell down. Here's the thing. That was not an emotional, intelligent move on her behalf. Why is that? And I'm using it in a personal scenario because I'm pretty sure you can apply it professionally. It would have been best if she would have communicated with another family member, or just say, hey, Alisa, where are you at? And then I would be like, I'm at work. What's going on? I missed 3 calls from you. And she could have said, are you busy right now? You know, and let's face it, she's in an emotional thing. That's her brother that just passed, right? Can you step away for a minute? And then I would probably be able, because I was not in my direct office. I was in a general office space. I had my office, but I was in general office, and I had a couple of staff around me. And so I stepped away when I called her back with tears in my eyes. And that's when she could have said, well, I have some bad news, and I just want to make sure you're okay, you know? And well, I hate to tell you this, but you know, your dad just passed away. And it would have probably been, if I was not a person who has some level of emotional regulation of my own, I probably would have bawled, screamed, flipped out everything, because it did happen like 30 minutes later. But I told her, I said, okay, I tried calling my sister and my brother. They weren't answering. And I called my supervisor, who was not in my location. And I said, hey, Laura, and I was crying and she could hear me in distress. I said, my dad just passed away. I think I'm going to need to go home, and I need you to come take care of the site. And she's like, oh my goodness. And she drove like about 20 minutes to get to there. And I held it together with tears flowing down my eyes. I told one of my staff, I said, my dad just passed. And she's like, are you okay? I'm like, I'm not sure. My body was shaking. I was weak. But the point is, I felt like if it was someone else, I have some other family members who would probably pass out. They might have to call 911 and all kinds of stuff. So I feel like emotional intelligence is knowing when to say and what to say and how to say it when it comes to communicating bad news. And so personally with me, I've had calls from staff members, family, who said their child was just admitted to the hospital. And I've had to transfer that message because I have teaching staff and they don't get calls in their classrooms. And so I had to take the call, and I am sitting there and I am processing, and I'm like, how do I say this to her? Because I know the child is more than likely going to be okay, but he broke his arm and now he's in hospital. That's her child, okay? So my thing was to sit there and take my own deep breaths, literally. I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And I think before I act, and I said, okay, all right, I get another staff, because now I'm making arrangements to get someone to take her spot in that classroom, because she's not going to stay on campus, okay? And I also have a meeting on my books. So I'm going to tell them I'm running late for the meeting because my staff comes first. I call her into the office. I said, hey, how's your day going? She's like, oh, guys, these kids are not listening today. And I say, okay, well, you know, I have something to tell you, and I'm here to support you. Just let me know what you need. Anything you need. I said, I just got a call from your son's school. They just had to take him to the ER because he may have injured his arm. Do you see? I knew they told me he broke his arm. I don't know which part, how they told me, but I said, I think he injured his arm and they had to take him just to make, get them to look at it. I didn't lie to her, but I didn't come. I was calm. And she's like, oh my God, when did this happen? I said, I just got the call. And she's like, I got to go. I said, wait a minute. I can go get your stuff, whatever. Just sit here for a minute. I'm going to get your bags and everything. And she's like, oh gosh, what happened? And I said, go ahead and call your husband. She called her husband. She's sitting in my office and I go get her stuff and I bring it to my office. And I said, do you want me to drive you to the ER? Because I'm not going to let her drive. I don't know where her thoughts are, but she says, no, I'm fine. I can drive. And I said, do you want water or something? Give her water. And then she was calm. She took about 5 minutes and she left my office and she was sad, but she was talking to her husband and she went, and I made sure she got there safe, and that was it. But if I had said, oh, Elizabeth, your son's arm, you just broke his arm, that would have been excitable and caused a whole lot. And I hope that makes sense. I see Musa was saying that makes sense. So it's how you communicate, what you say, your body language, all of it encapsulates that emotional intelligence to help someone keep calm. And I hope that makes sense to you. Did that answer your question, Musu? And so that's bad news. It could be you telling someone you're getting fired. And I've had to do it pretty much the same way. Call them in my office, check in on them, and say, unfortunately, today we're letting you go. And I'm here to support you. Here's some options. I will be a reference, and all the reassurance things I could possibly say. I had one person get angry, but she didn't lash out because in my eyes, I had compassion and I really felt it. People will know. The other thing, people will check your vibes. So if you're telling them one thing and you're doing something else, it's not emotional intelligence. They will know you're lying and you'll still have the same response. So make sure you're being honest. If you don't feel sorry for someone, don't say it and not mean it. It will be aggravating. Dr. Kareem, do we have any other questions in the chat?
We do. I'll read one more and I'm gonna pass it back over to Remy, our host, and I'll let him funnel the Q&A at this point. One other one that popped up near the top of the chat. Julian wants to know some ideal books that you would recommend that teach ethical leadership with regards to emotional intelligence. So Julian's wants to know, do you have any ideal book or books that you would recommend that teach any type of ethical leadership with regards to emotional intelligence?
One of my biggest books that I love that teaches emotional intelligence, and it doesn't even say emotional intelligence on the cover, is Everyone Communicates, Few Connect by John Maxwell. That is the biggest one that I love because emotional intelligence can become such a scientific topic that it could go deep, and there's a lot of science and research out there. The other one that I would say that teaches you emotional intelligence, remember we introduced that a growth mindset is one of the biggest pieces of emotional intelligence, because it teaches this is why I am so focused on mindset. And I would go to the work of Carolyn Dweck. And I say go to the work because she has several books and there's none specific. I have read quite a few of them and I continue to follow her work and her research. She's actually a big inspiration to me in the mindset space. So I would go with Carolyn Dweck. And that other one that I recommend is Everyone Communicates, Few Connects. And the reason why I love that, and we're actually in our Mindset Mastery 360 movement in the future, because even Dr. Kareem is also a John Maxwell Team member, and my other good friend Deb. We have quite a few. We're wanting to do that global mastermind on Everyone Communicates, Few Connect. But that one really makes it simple and applicable. The thing about emotional intelligence is not to get tied up in, am I being an emotional intelligent leader or not? It's about, am I treating people the way I'd want to be treated? Am I listening? Am I communicating? Am I asking? Am I giving? And that is the measuring stick. So it's not as complicated as all the science would want to make it to be. So those two books would be my greatest.
I'll go ahead and pass it back to Remy and let him be in charge of divvying up the questions. But I do want to add one thing on leadership and communication, because a lot of people think leadership is about your ability to convey orders or tasks. And the most effective leaders are not the ones that know how to bark orders. The most effective leaders are the ones who know how to communicate, comprehend, and understand. Communication is about my ability to have a conversation and understand the terminology and everything that's going on, not about my ability to bark orders. So I think the best leaders in the world have great listening skills and comprehension skills, which add into emotional intelligence. So Remy, I'm gonna pass it over to you, my friend. I'll let you be in charge of divvying those questions out.
Thank you so much, Dr. Karim, for playing that role for us. It's been wonderful listening to you. Okay, on the comment section, I have one from Julian. I don't know if that has been taken care of. He said that he has gone through the book, The 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, which seems to teach a few leadership tips which are regarded as controversial, manipulative, toxic, and unethical, though it contains some wisdom and valuable insight. So, do you recommend this book to Julian Manama? Doc, do you recommend the book?
I haven't read that one. I haven't read that one. And so, like I said, there's so many. And I have one that I'm working on myself that I've been working on for years that I need to finish. And it wouldn't even have emotional intelligence in the title because it would just teach it. And so,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm sure Dr. Karim has read that book. So, Doc, go ahead and speak.
Yeah, so I have read it. It is one of my favorite reads. So I will say this with a disclaimer. That particular book is so powerful because it does teach a lot of leadership principles. It is very controversial. It has chapters and lessons that could be considered very manipulative. It could have toxic and very unethical origins and thought patterns and teachings inside of it. There are some prisons that won't even allow you to have that book in prison. That's where this book is at on the scale. There are some prisons that will not allow a prisoner to have access to that book because of what can be potentially done with it. So what I say is this: with everything that you read out there, any piece of knowledge that you absorb, knowledge is one thing. Application of it is typically wisdom. There's a difference between knowledge and wisdom. Knowledge is what I know. Wisdom is how I apply what I know. In the book of life, it says that Solomon asked for wisdom, and God granted him both riches and power because of the fact he asked for wisdom. So he ended up getting both at the same time, right? So what I would say is this: I don't recommend you reading the book for the purpose of applying some of the stuff, because some of the stuff may end up creating a lot of enemies and people wanting to take you out. There are very unethical lessons in the book. I recommend you reading it because you may come across someone that has wisdom of that book. And so it's easy for you to block or set up a defensive mechanism when you know what tactics other people use. Let's be real. We live in a day and age where a lot of things that's deemed ethical no longer exist. The boundary lines between what's ethical and what's not ethical, that disappeared centuries ago, right? So one of the best ways I can protect myself is if I know what tools other enemies out there may utilize against me, which may dampen my ability to be successful or to protect myself or to protect my family. So do I recommend reading it? Yes. Is it a long book? Yes. Is it a boring book at times? Yes. Is it a helpful book? Absolutely. There are a lot of principles I've learned out of that book, which I have utilized in my own success, which has taken me far. There are lessons I've learned, which I've been able to throw up a defensive block. Like one of my favorite lessons in that book is never outshine the master. Never outshine the master. And that means with emotional intelligence, I have to know when to humble myself. As a speaker, I'm very gifted in communication. I've had a lot of mentors that I've been under. Some of the mentors I know that I can outshine with my gift, but it's my job not to outshine them on certain platforms. Otherwise, I cut off my ability and access to be with the mentor. So there's a lot of lessons inside the book that I recommend that can help you go very, very far. But there's a lot of things that I wouldn't do from the unethical portion of it, but it also protects me so I know when someone is using that tool or that rule against me, right? So I hope that answers that question, but I do recommend it.
Fantastic. I think I've read that book too, and it's really amazing, just like you said. the application of what you get into from the book is what matters. Okay, very good. Please, if you have any comments, any questions, put that up before we go. This is we've been here for the past 1 hour 40 minutes. 1 hour 40 minutes. It's time to call it a day, if you don't mind. But before you go, let me go through some of the takeaways that we got from this session today. According to Her Excellency Dr. Alisa Whyte, emotional intelligence is crucial for effective leadership. That's where I'm so much interested in effective leadership. Talking about empathy, that's one of the great attributes of or traits of good leaders. To be able to understand how your followers are feeling, so that you can also respond responsibly. So that is critical for effective leadership. And again, talking about developing emotional intelligence very early in life, she said it sets a strong foundation for future success. Like I said, when we started, emotional quotient, which is also known as emotional intelligence, has been found to be a serious factor for success in life. Not just intelligence quotient. Like I said, A's work for A students, end up working for C students. I don't know why that is the case, but if Dr. Alisa wants to say something about this, maybe you can say that before we call it a day on the session today. Why do A students end up working for C students?
Yeah, I definitely have a lot of thank yous to say to all of you for being so patient with all the technical difficulties. And again, emotional intelligence will be that not to ever quit on what you intend to do, no matter what, because it can be frustrating sometimes. And different things will happen throughout your daily life that can completely seem to want to take you off, of course, but you don't surrender. And so it's almost like my emotional intelligence was highly tested. And I thank you all for staying with us and tuning in. And don't stop the conversation, the research, and the practice. It's so important. I love what Dr. Kareem said. And I always say this: knowledge is not power. Knowledge in consistent practice is what empowers us. So whatever you learn today and all the things that you will be learning about emotional intelligence, it will truly be the bedrock of just creating a person with great character. And I had so much I would love to go over with you, but we kept it short and simple to start. Connect with me. I do have a list of free gifts that will help you with the growth mindset. There's one that's 21 days to a transformational growth mindset. I would love to give that to you. So go to my Instagram at Alisa Whyte Speaks. Follow me there. Send us a chat. Once you follow us, inbox us and said that you want to say, just send me a message that says growth mindset, or let me know you heard us here at ASLA. And we'll make sure you get the link to download that freebie and a plethora of others, because we have them on one page. You can just explore what you want. Because remember, you need to put tools in your toolbox that helps you put what you learn into practice, and that is what will empower you. Again, I just remind you all that every single thing, really, truly, including emotional intelligence, begins with how you think. Those thoughts will be coming from your feelings, and your feelings and your thoughts will keep going back and forth, which creates emotions. And that is what you will begin to speak from that place. Then you do, because they are now habits. That is the results you will get in your life, and that's what you become. Want to be an effective leader? Put the work in. I'm Dr. Alisa Whyte, saying thank you all for listening and tuning in. We love, love, love ASLA and Ugwumba Leadership Center. It is big part of what Dr. Kareem and I of our work, and we can't wait to see you all in person soon. Love, light, peace, and blessings, and I'm out.
Oh yeah, before you go, I think His Excellency is still here. We have to give him the opportunity to do the validatory session before we close. Before he comes up, please, ladies and gentlemen, I want to let you know that Dr. Alisa Whyte and Dr. Kareem Ellis are both advisors at the Ugwumba Leadership Center. With everything they are doing in America, in Europe, in UK, they are also working with us here in Nigeria at the Ugwumba Leadership Center. So I wanted to know that so that you see them as your brothers, as your sister and brother, and then as friends, because they relate with us as such. So, Your Excellency, Ugwumba Uchemosu, the president and founder of the Ugwumba Leadership Center, is here. So over to you, sir.
What else can I say? The professor of mindset and the doctor of mindset.
Humble, Your Excellency.
I want to thank you and Dr. Karim. We just received overdose. Let me say it's an overdose from these two great woman and great man from Africa origin. This is what we've been expecting. We want to thank you. I believe that everybody in this platform, in one way or the other, have gotten enough of our sister, Dr. Alisa Whyte. We appreciate you. For me, I have no more. You know, we're still learning. I have no more about emotional intelligence. So for me, I'm going home with a lot. When you went off, Dr. Karim was able to also educate us more on it. But when you came back again, we got more from you. What it means is that we are filled with a lot of teaching from you. And for those of you who attended today, the two people you are seeing, they are members of our leadership center. They are part of our advisory board members. This was given to us free without paying any dime. You are looking at people that charges thousands and thousands of dollars to speak, but we are getting it free in Africa. What it means that the blood and gene of Africa is running in both of them. We're expecting to see them in Nigeria, in Africa. Those of us from Sudan, Kenya, Southern Sudan, Ethiopia, we are grateful to this young woman and man for being part of this academy today. Thank you, Her Excellency. Thank you, Dr. Karim. Remain blessed. We expect to hear more of you. Thank you, and God bless all of us. Thank you.
Wow. Thank you so much, Your Excellency, for that powerful presidential speech. You know, and we are so grateful to both of you, Dr. Karim and Dr. Alisa. You've already shown that you are committed to the work we are doing in Nigeria and Africa. Like I told you before, we have here with us, we have students from Tanzania, Rwanda, Sierra Leone, Congo, Niger Republic, Burundi, and so many of them. If I don't, please, Ethiopia, good, fantastic. I have Ethiopia. Okay, let me stop because I don't want to miss anyone. So we have Africa in the house. You know, just like Professor Remy Duye would say, she said that at the Ugwumba Leadership Center that we are building a United States of Africa. That's what she called it. And that keeps resonating with me, you know, because of the diversities and the, you know, the what we have, you know, you can imagine the wisdom that we are getting from the conversation this afternoon. So it's really United States of Africa that we are raising at the Ugwumba Leadership Center. So to you again, Dr. Karim, Dr. Alisa, we want to thank you and appreciate you for what you are doing for us here in Africa. God bless you all. And ladies and gentlemen, from us is thank you so much. Thank you so much. We invite you to join us next week for another wonderful session on this African Student Leadership Academy. From all of us and our boss, we want to say thank you. We don't feel like going in bed. We have to go. We don't feel like
thank you so much. Yes, I am so grateful. We're
Thank
grateful, and we're just looking forward to even more wonderful things together. This is just a beautiful. I think we've created a family bond with you both, and even some of the others we haven't met. We just can't wait to rub shoulders. I believe we're seeing each other in a couple months, so we're looking forward to it.
Dr. Lisa, before you go, type your Instagram in the chat. They're asking for it.
Fantastic.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Somebody said that when are both of you coming back to speak to them? I think that answer will come. Okay, don't worry. I will answer that after now. So thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ese, for that question.
Please let them follow the two. Let them follow them on their social media. They will learn more from their social media, both Dr. Karim and Dr. Alisa. Please, ladies and gentlemen, follow these two people. You're going to learn a lot from them. Follow them on their social media, on Instagram, on Facebook, on YouTube. Please do follow them.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I don't know. Somebody said she wants to talk. Mama Sita, I don't know why you kept waiting till now to speak. What is it you want to say? My boss has concluded. What do you want to say, Mama Sita? Okay, go ahead. Are you there?
Go ahead, Mama Sita.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Mama Sita. You can ask me any questions and I will relate back to our guests in the house. So at this juncture, we can't take any more. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. For those already following them, we appreciate you. Thank you so much. Remember, you have to be good Nigerians and Africans when you relate with them. You know what I mean? Thank you so much. I bless you all. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.